Welcome, this is Charlie from 4BZ Truth. Really excited that you're taking the time to hear my rants, and I'm about to start a video series here that is talking about the flat earth. Now, I know that there's so much garbage out there right now about the flat earth. There's the globe earth. People are arguing back and forth, defending their views. This world is full of controversial, conspiratorial things. But let's think this through for a minute. Let's start with the curvature. Now we have evidence that the flat earthers will say is kind of sealed the deal. Now, from the video footage of the weather balloons, up like 70,000 to 110,000 feet elevation, there is still a flat horizon, and it's at eye level. So, how do you reconcile that? You can't really blow that off like, oh well, it's a perspective thing or whatever. It seems to me like that is enough to seal the deal. But let's think about this for a minute. I'm going to scrutinize some stuff. One of the things that has hung me up the most is the 24 hours of sun in Antarctica during the summer of this, the southern hemiplane or hemisphere. So you have this video capture of with that watch that's sitting on there, and it's the camera spinning around with the sun. Now, a lot of people are saying that is fake, but they have no evidence to prove otherwise. So we can take that and just assume that if it is fake, there's no way to prove it. But if it's real, what does that say for the flat earth theory that we have? Now, granted, we don't have the same budget NASA does, like $40 billion or whatever it is. There's probably millions of people researching this right now, trying to reconcile it within themselves what the true worldview is. You have so many lies, so much deception. You got to weed through it. So I've gotten to the point where I'm thinking we must not embrace a specific view, such as the globe or the flat earth. What if we scrutinized everything, the evidence that is in front of us? So clearly, we have many things to piece together, many puzzle pieces that are unanswered. So if I was to say I'm taking the bias of the flat earth, I feel like the curvature issue is the strong point to try to explain the flat earth. Because when you look across Lake Michigan into the Chicago skyline, your naked eye cannot see that far. But if you take a video camera and zoom in 55 miles or so, you're going to see that the Chicago skyline is visible. According to the calculations of the mathematical curvature, you have, after the first mile, 8 inches, and then the second mile, 8 inches squared. So you don't have a pyramid drop off, you have a circle drop off. It doesn't just go straight down, it curves down. So you will definitely see some sort of curvature. But then again, ask yourself this. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about light refraction, the bending of light. So let's talk about that for a second. If light indeed bends, how can you justify that mathematically? Can you calculate an assumption? It's kind of like a contradiction. We have a visible skyline across Lake Michigan of Chicago. Now, granted, I was just watching another video that was showing different pictures of that skyline. On one day, you'll see a little bit of curvature, obstruction. Maybe I shouldn't use the word curvature. Maybe I'll just say there is an obstruction at the bottom of the skyline. So think about this. That day may have been different from another day when it comes to weather or the temperature or haze. So the conditions of the environment factor into whether you're going to see obstruction or light bending or some sort of light refraction. Can you explain that mathematically? I don't believe that there's a formula that could be used to justify a curvature unless you understand that light does refract when it hits certain objects. So if you take like a glass container and you shoot a beam of light into it, so say like a bowl, you can see it hit the glass and it is disturbed by the refraction. You can see, especially if there's water inside that container, you can see the light hit, and then you could take your hand and see from the other side that the image is distorted. If that's true, is it doing the same thing when you have a bunch of water vapors in the air? So if you're looking over 55 miles over the Lake Michigan shore, or over the lake, all the way to the Chicago skyline, you're going to see variations or a variance depending on the conditions. Don't look at one image like the Joshua Nowicki photo. He may have been on a ledge or something high above, maybe 10 feet above the the shoreline. But there's other images that you can look at and it kind of has a different outcome. But even if one photo was taken from the shoreline or as low as possible, there is definitely going to be a perspective issue. Because obviously the waves are going to chop. When you have 55 miles of water, it's going to do this. So you have light refraction. Think about that. How do you mathematically figure the bending of light? And how do you figure the conditions of the weather? What if there's haze? What if there is, is there going to be a difference between 30 degrees and 100 degrees? Yeah, probably. Because water vapor is going to be more predominant in hotter conditions. So once that light goes over that full distance of 55 miles, or 60 miles or whatever, light would probably refract somehow be shifted. It's proof. There is proof of light bending or refraction. So how about let's calculate some of that? Or how can we calculate that? Is it even possible? Is this argument kind of a moot argument? Because nobody can truly know until they leave the atmosphere and can look above and see the whole expanse of the earth. But who's to say we're even capable of perceiving the shape, because we're still dealing with light, the laws of perspective and light variations based on refraction. So I believe that if there is an empty space, you're not going to deal with the same kind of refraction. So I believe that video footage, if it is real, of the weather balloons and the GoPro cameras, they have basically got to the point where it can't go up anymore because there is no more atmosphere up at that high level. So basically the camera view that you see, depending on if it's a fisheye lens or not, you'll see a flat plane. You won't really see this, convex or concave, but you'll see a flat horizon. So just the fact that you're looking through this camera and seeing a flat horizon, and then there's no obstruction. There's no visual obstruction when looking through that camera. So if the evidence is showing that there is no curvature from an amateur camera, what are we going to believe? NASA or the amateur? NASA has proven to me that their witness will not hold up in court. If you have a witness, speaking of which, I was just called for jury duty, and I thought about this. You have people that commit a crime and they look for witnesses. If the witnesses are found to be unreliable because their information is not 100%, or they can be proven to be in a lie, well, not only are they in contempt of court, but their witness is not going to be used as any kind of, their witness is not going to be used to prove a case because they're not reliable. So let's put NASA into that slot. If all of their globe pictures are composites or computer animations, which is proven, that leaves the Apollo 17 picture of Africa and Antarctica. But I've already seen that scrutinized, and I can see that there is kind of a problem with the size. There's no Australia in the view. And I've seen a lot of people test on the timeanddate.com, and it appears that is a faked image. Now, I could be wrong. They could be wrong, the ones that are scrutinizing that. But I think it's important that they're doing that. It's important that all these people that are coming out with what they consider proof, if somebody else can prove that they're an unreliable witness, then who are you putting your trust in? I like that this whole flat earth movement is causing people to take matters into their own hands, because there's nothing reliable. Part of the problem with this whole movement for me, though, is I hold a worldview of being a Christian. You know, there's a lot of people that will try to debunk Christianity. So if there's holes in the Bible or translations, which there probably is, I'm not going to say that the authenticity of that belief system is unreliable because of like translations over time. I don't really think that the storylines were necessarily tampered with, but doctrinally speaking, there may be some variations. Maybe it's interpretation, or maybe it's translations. But if you generalize things more, you can see that there is kind of a general perspective. And, you know, the fine details may be able to you can argue those little fine details. But the general perspective can't be changed because of all the other witnesses. That's the interesting thing about the Bible, is you have 66 different books and letters. I want to say like 40 authors that claim to have some sort of intuition from God. You can see a little bit of variation within their writing skills and things like that. I can tell if I'm reading Paul versus reading Isaiah. So clearly it's not the same writers. So if there's a compilation of biblical resources and they pretty much have the same general message, you can worry about the fine details if you want for doctrinal issues, but the overall picture is that the Bible can be reliable. Now, I think that initially, if the Bible is reliable, I'm kind of on a rabbit trail with this whole thing, but I think it ties into the flat earth. If you're going to test the biblical perspective, which I think you should, if it can't stand up to scrutiny, it's not worth it. So let's. Everything needs to be fine-tuned. That if you're a Christian and you understand the whole perspective of word studies, sometimes you just got to get into the root words of certain things. And the context matters. The context matters as well. So, if you're trying to justify a view, such as the flat Earth or the globe Earth, context matters. The details matter, but there's a point in time when your details can go one way or the other. So it can be argued from both perspectives. So if someone's trying to debunk the flat Earth because of a fine detail that they feel is interpreted from the perspective of the globe understanding, then let's take a step back and look at the big picture again. Because we have many different perspectives. So, okay, the 24 hours of sunlight in Antarctica has been hanging me up a lot. I don't know if it's proving a globe. I don't know if it's proving a convex or concave or flat. Is there anything that I can look at that will help me see that that can be supported? I've seen some flat earth theories that are interesting. I think it was Caesar channel was talking about the sun and the stars basically rotating on a sheet. It's not really rotating, it's just sliding across the plane and going into the western side of so from east to west it goes all the way through, and it goes out the what do you call it? It's like a portal, the western portal, and enters into the eastern portal. That's talking about the stuff from the Book of Enoch. That would explain the 24 hours of sunlight. If the sun does this over the hemispheres, over the winter and summer solstice. Anyways, just some stuff to think about. This is going to continue in a series of videos. I'm not sure how long this will last, but it's going to definitely be I'm going to get into some of these deep topics. I'm not going to support the flat earth or the globe earth, just things to think about, okay? So if you like this, go ahead and subscribe, and then talk to me. I want to hear what you have to say. It's important to me to really analyze this and break it down. So again, Happy New Year, and have a good one. All right, bye.